helpful. That wouldn't have happened, you know, with the Democrats in charge. But the rise in crude exports are already booming overseas of refined, you know, product. So it's very exciting. So listen to this. I got one more number for you. Net oil imports have plunged to below 3 million barrels a day. It was 12 million barrels a day in 06. So we import 75% less.
Why am I still paying $2.75 a gallon?
Oh, it's going to go up even more. It's going to be on the $70 range oil soon. But listen, the market was very volatile. I think it's going to level off in that $60, $70 range. Oil at $25 a barrel was very harmful to the U.S. manufacturing industries and jobs. Like in the shale oil in North Dakota, they had to fire a lot of people. You know, so I'm not for rising gas prices, but we are in an inflationary period. There's no doubt.
Very scary with the inflation.
It is scary, and it's going to continue.
It scares the market.
You know, so, but, you know, there's so much money. I mean, inflation basically means people are taking in money. So Donald Trump here, right? He donated his fourth quarter salary to the Department of Transportation to set a trend for infrastructure. So he's donated every quarter of his salary for 2017 to the government, the Parks Department, you know. It's unbelievable. It's very exciting that he's willing to do that. And I know everyone says he's a billionaire, whatever, but he's actually, probably his net worth has decreased by $1 billion since he's president. And
his net worth has?
Yeah, I think so. And the Clintons came in with worth about a couple $100,000, and they're worth $100 million now. So it's going to the reverse for Trump. But I think he really cares about this country, regardless of what's going on. And, you know, and again, we're not Trump cheerleaders, but you can't deny the good things that are happening.
Folks, he was not my first choice. I'll tell you that right now. He was not my first choice. But you know what? I get behind any president that we have, regardless of you know, whether I like them or not as a person. But I have to tell you, this man is running this car the right way. I mean, we got this economy going. You know, I still think we're a little slow. Are we on a break here? But I still think we're a little slow on some foreign policy issues, and really slow on getting to the bottom of a lot of these scandals that happened in the last 8-10 years. You know, so
we're going to get into that when we come back. We have a Uranium One update, which is going to blow your mind.
Yep.
And we've got all kinds of stuff here.
Take us out, Dave.
Yeah, you're listening to Everything Matters with Ed Munoz and David Zere, live at JVK Studios in Lake Grove, New York, just outside of Manhattan. We are the voice of the common American, the first responders, our military. We want everybody to stay tuned. We have more coming back really soon. Thank you so much.
Zere Real Estate Services is a trustworthy full-service commercial real estate company. They've been servicing commercial real estate requirements throughout the Long Island commercial real estate region for more than 3 decades. For office leasing, industrial, commercial real estate services, whatever you need when it comes to commercial real estate, it's Zere Real Estate Services. You give them a call at 631-467-4300. That's 631-467-4300. Or you can check them out online at www.zere.com. For all, and I mean all, of your commercial real estate. You've seen the signs out there, Long Island. Look around when you're driving around. You'll see them. Zere Real Estate Services, 631-467-4300, www.zere, that's ZERE.com. Well, maybe it's a better way to, maybe it's finding a better way to manage your business so that you can pursue your passion or have the resources to spend time with those closest to you. And Bridgehampton National Bank can make that happen. They're a Long Island community bank, and they offer smart solutions, sound advice, and personal service to help businesses and individuals succeed. And they welcome the opportunity to do the same for you. Check them out online at www.bnbbank.com. That's bnbbank.com. Bridgehampton National Bank. Many success stories. Maybe you can be one of them. And now back to Everything Matters with Ed Munoz and David Zere.
Hello, everyone. We're broadcasting live from JVK Studios here in New York. This is David Zere for Everything Matters. My co-host Ed Munoz is right here with us. And we got a lot of stories here. One, I just wanted to bring up this thing about Bill Murray, Ed, right? So Bill Murray came out and said that, you know, these Hollywood actors are too political. He said when Kristen Wiig is trying to make people laugh, she's not thinking about politics. He actually took a pro-Trump position. He said the tax plan was incredible, something, you know, to paraphrase him. And a lot of these comedians are getting really fed up with the political correctness. Jim Norton, you know.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld won't perform in college campuses anymore because they're a bunch of sissies, you know. So And Jim Norton was saying, I forgot what he said, but he was basically saying that, the Democrats keep picking these little pieces of the population out, and they only represent them. And Bill Murray said it too, that they only care if we represent Hispanics or LGBT or whatever, and it's all identity politics, instead of looking at the audience as people to entertain as a whole, and not caring who gets offended, and not caring.
Let me tell you something. As a Hispanic American, I take offense every time I hear Nancy Pelosi open her mouth, and seriously, and she tries to blow smoke, where. Okay, and try to appease the Hispanic people. I'm telling you right now, she doesn't care about Hispanic Americans.
Did you hear what she said in her filibuster?
She cares about nobody but herself.
And she was saying her grandson came to her and said he wished he had brown skin.
Please, that's the biggest.
She is so full of crap.
It's unbelievable.
She's disgusting.
Listen, we could do a week on Nancy Pelosi.
Oh my God. We can. But, Bill Murray, he's sounding very conservative these days, or at least libertarian, and his politics have often been Democratic. He's so disenfranchised by the Democratic Party. He's been a staunch defender of Ralph Nader. He doesn't like Al Gore. He thinks Al Gore, blew the election in 2000 and it was his to win. But I was really impressed by what Bill Murray had to say. And Murray's upsetting a lot of his Hollywood friends. They're already speaking out. Jim Norton, is a pretty funny guy. He said that Hollywood and everybody in this country is a tireless brigade of social justice warriors. So at least, we see some pushback in the entertainment community, which is exciting. Chris Rock, too.
Folks, we have to figure out a way to compromise, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
There can't be a hard line left, hard line right. It has to be some sort of compromise, but it has to be realistic. It has to be logical. And that's where we've lost our way with logic and reason.
So this teacher, right, who was going on a rant about how evil the military is.
Oh, how dumb
and
they were?
If you joined the military, you're dumb and your parents hated you. Yeah. He was asked to resign because he's also a city councilman in Pico Rivera, California, right? And, so looks like we're going to get rid of him.
Good riddance. Listen, if I never talk about that guy again, no sweat off my brow.
You want to hear something crazy? Immigrants in the United States across the world sent home $138 billion in 2016. Do you know how much was sent into the United States from families? I think it was 2.76 billion or 6 billion. It was a really low number. It's in here somewhere. So listen to this, right? A sum that exceeds the entire gross domestic product of the entire country of Kuwait was sent out of the United States. So why aren't we taxing that to build the wall? Tax the transactions.
I agree.
We could generate $2.74 billion a year over a 10-year period and pay for the $27 billion that Trump needs to build the wall and add additional security.
Yep.
Why aren't we doing this? This is crazy. Mike Rogers from Alabama, I don't know if you remember a year ago, I actually reached out to our local county Republican leader at the request of a friend named Jeff Reed out in Colorado, to put, before Trump got elected, actually, to put it on Trump's agenda in front of him because he was an advocate for Trump, to get it on his desk. But it looks like Representative Mike Rogers from Alabama already did it, to slap a 2% tax on all money transfers to Mexico, Central America, and so listen to the list, Ed. You ready? Mm-hmm. Mexico, $28 billion was sent to Mexico in 2016, $15.4 billion to China, $10.7 to India, $10.5 to the Philippines, 6.8 to Guatemala.
Those are staggering numbers.
It's crazy, right? So, I don't know why we're not taxing that money. We should. And there should be a high tariff on it. It should be like a 25% penalty, not 2%.
I guess they're going to run
the money should be kept here.
They'd run into some problems now with Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, well, that's not doing too hot, right?
No, it's actually tanking Bitcoin.
It was at 8,000 the other day, and I didn't follow it.
And from what I was told, apparently a friend of mine who's an IT guy, told me that a lot of Hollywood and celebrities put a ton of money into this last year, and all of a sudden they pulled out to make their profits, and that's what dropped this.
Oh yeah, there's no. I've been all my friends who have it.
Fictitious.
I've been telling them to get rid of it or sell half of it. Did you see this Channel 7 affiliate out west somewhere? Instead of saying Pyeongchang for the Olympics, they put P.F. Chang 2018. The Chinese restaurant.
Somebody lost their job.
That was funny. So we got a lot of stuff going on in Syria and Turkey. Turkey's basically declared war on the U.S. By the way, the United States bombed a Syrian base the other day.
I know,
And we
and
killed 200 Russian troops.
Yeah.
Former Russian troops,
Well,
mercenaries.
those guys are
basically.
mercenaries, so they're not
Yeah.
flying under the flag.
But there's a lot of questions now in Russia, and people are very critical of Putin because they might not be flying under a flag, but they shouldn't have been there in those kinds of numbers. So there's something major going on over there. We fought off an attack. They originally attacked us, and then a U.S. drone destroyed a T-72, a 70s era Russian tank.
And let's talk about the Israelis shooting an Iranian drone.
Yeah.
And the airstrikes. You have that?
So yeah, I do, and this is gonna escalate, and
You know what I say? Take the gloves off and the handcuffs off and the
think they
chains
are.
off of Israel, and let them just go kick the snot.
yeah.
out
But
of-
Ed, you know what they're doing? In Israel, they're trying to frame Netanyahu. He's been through 10 investigations
they're not
already
gonna.
for
Then
scandal.
they're not gonna get him.
They don't want him to go after these countries. Iran, by the way, is making, with U.S. dollars, is making thousands and thousands of drones with bombs attached
Yeah.
to them, by the way. That's another story in the news. Oh, and this Uranium One sale of this uranium in the
Crooked
United
Hillary?
States, right? You know that some of it may have gone into Iranian nuclear reactors? That's nice, right?
On accident.
Thanks, Hillary. So this Uranium One informant, you know, his name is Doug Campbell. He's been making incredible accusations
Awesome.
connected to the Uranium One controversy.
Awesome story that Mr. Campbell
Yeah.
is out here.
He told 3 congressional committees in a written statement
I
that
love
Moscow routed millions of dollars to America with the expectation it would be used to benefit Bill Clinton's charitable efforts, while Secretary of State Hillary Clinton quarterbacked a reset in U.S.-Russian relations.
How are the Clintons not in bracelets and chains and doing the perp walk? Can you please tell me?
This information is unbelievable.
I don't care what political party that people belong to. If you do stuff like this,
Yeah.
regardless of the political party, regardless of who you are, your
Yeah.
last name is, you have to go to jail.
So he's a paid informant for the FBI.
ridiculous.
And that now the FBI is like distancing himself from him. He accused the Obama administration of making decisions that ended up benefiting the Russian nuclear industry because Putin wanted a monopoly in the global uranium market and a geopolitical advantage over the United States. So you're telling me that Putin didn't want Hillary to be in office? He doesn't want Trump, who's going to play hardball with them. Every time a Democrat's in office, the Russians steamroll right over us all over the world. It's just a fact. It's unbelievable.
Listen, it comes down to I don't understand. You know, regular people like you and I, you know, will be thrown in jail because you didn't pay your red light ticket.
Yeah,
you know,
listen.
for 3 months, you didn't pay your red light
So
ticket.
this guy, Doug Campbell, he's getting drunk with these Russian nuclear executives. They're laughing about how weak the U.S. government was under Obama and giving away our uranium business, and were confident that Russia would secure the strategic advantage
I gotta
in the U.S. over
listen,
the U.S. uranium market.
My personal opinion, I don't think it was Obama. I think it was the Clintons. I think
Well, it's
Hillary,
it's
I think
all
Hillary
part of
Clinton, Clinton had the most power.
Yeah.
You know, when she was Secretary of State, I think more power than Obama.
Well, there's the CFIUS vote, you know, also that she made, you know, they say wasn't controversial, but it's very controversial. There were emails and documents intercepted showing that Rosatom's purchase of Uranium-1 was part of a Russian geopolitical strategy to gain leverage in global energy markets. But then 10X, which is another company working with Rosatom, which was bribing trucking companies and U.S. officials to get our uranium, right? With the help of the Clintons, 10X is supplying Iranian fuel through Russia. It's a Russian company. So how much U.S. uranium is in Iranian reactors right now, being in the centrifuges? I mean, come on.
Again,
You know?
why aren't the Clintons in jail? Eric, can you please explain that to me?
This guy,
Can you?
this guy.
I'm sorry, what was that?
used
Can I
by
what?
The FBI, and he was never reimbursed for hundreds of
Can I what, Ed?
dollars that he laid out.
Can you tell me why the Clintons are not in jail?
Because they're the Clintons.
Well, this
I
guy,
give
Doug
up.
Campbell, one last sentence about this. He said he was frustrated watching the U.S. government make numerous decisions benefiting Rosatom and 10X, while those entities were engaged in serious criminal conduct on U.S. soil. This guy couldn't believe it. 10X and Rosatom were raking in billions of U.S. dollars by signing contracts with American nuclear facilities and utility clients, and they were involved in extortion, threats, bribes, and kickbacks with American companies to benefit high-ranking Russian officials. There's your collusion. That's
all-
your collusion.
This is all mafia stuff too.
It's crazy.
It's all mafia stuff, and nobody's in jail.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Nobody's in jail. People are sleeping tucked away real nice.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I got a red light summons I haven't paid in 2 months, and you
Yeah.
know,
What-
I'm losing sleep over it.
What about the feds paying $100,000 to get dirt on Trump during the election. The feds, the FBI are being used by the Democratic Party. You know, Senator Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham. We went over this last week, but there's more now. They want a formal investigation into Chris Steele, the British spy who compiled this fake dossier.
Right.
You know, on behalf of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, and the presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. That data was the crux for the Democrats and the FBI getting the FISA warrant against Trump. How is that not illegal?
Again.
You're like,
you know what?
You're just like, you know, so what else is new?
I mean, this is a daily thing. I mean, I don't think that we have enough handcuffs produced in the United States of America to put all these politicians in jail.
Well, when this,
Republicans and Democrats, folks.
When this Inspector General report come out, Michael Horowitz.
What's going to happen?
I think you're going to start seeing names and indictments.
You think so?
I think so. It's coming out next month. I think the Republicans, it's time for them to hit back because this is insane what's going on.
We just, you know, we waste so much time. Every time I turn on the TV and I watch C-SPAN, there's congressional hearings and congressional. It's a joke. It's a joke, folks.
Yeah.
We're getting played. Both parties, Republican and Democrats, okay, are destroying this nation in the moral fiber, and there's nothing done about it.
No.
I don't understand.
We got more about Bill Murray, right? You want to hear his quote about the tax plan? He said the change in the tax law is a great thing for corporations. It's a fantastic thing. It's a high tide raising all the boats in America. And it's making things easier. He's going to have hell to pay in Hollywood. Oh, my God.
He's made his money. He don't care.
Yeah. I'm very surprised, you know, because, you know, all these guys are very liberal, so.
You know what? But even a guy like Clint Eastwood, you know, he's been outspoken, Republican, conservative.
Yeah, I heard the new movie about the French, the foiled terrorist
1517 in Paris?
Yeah, was really great, you know.
Well, he had
a little politically correct, I heard, but really
well,
great.
he had the actual heroes that were responsible play their own roles.
So you saw these paintings?
Very
Of Obama and Michelle Obama, Barack and Michelle. Were they horrible, or is it just me?
No, the artist that painted Michelle's presidential portrait for the Smithsonian, the actual artist has painted pictures of African American women holding the severed heads of white women. And,
Yeah, Kehinde Wiley. He painted black women decapitating white women, and this is the guy who did the presidential portrait, by the way, which is horrible, and he's in a field of kudzu, you know, which is like that vine and stuff that you see on the cliffs and like the Virgin Islands and stuff. Or Wrigley Field.
I don't think he, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he did the actual.
He doesn't paint
for Obama. He did Michelle Obama's painting.
Well, I think he did Obama's too, but either way, I heard he doesn't even paint them. I think he did Barack. Michelle Obama's painting looks like a sixth grader did it.
Yeah,
Let me tell you, my mother's a fantastic artist. The President Trump, the next time you need a portrait done, don't call this guy, call Marie, because they were horrible, right? I heard that this guy, Kehinde Wiley, pays Chinese painters to do his painting for him. He doesn't even really paint it.
Yeah, that's a joke.
No, I'm not kidding. I read it today. I read it in the news, and I went to print it out. And I don't know where the article went because I have 500 articles here and I'm lost.
We should pay somebody to produce the show besides the producer, Eric Koppelman.
I'm telling you. Eric, get the spray paint out. Come on.
What are we painting,
Say hello
guys?
to our producer, Eric
What are we
Koppelman
painting?
over
Hey,
there.
guys. How you doing? How's everybody doing?
Excellent.
I'm over here sharing your shows and trying to keep up with the chat room.
We're expecting our guest, Jessie Jane Duff, to call in any moment. Hopefully she will call us. And I'm just going to check my email here while I'm on the air. So anyway...
No, go ahead.
This Democrat's running in Virginia, and he discovered a new Southern accent. He lived in California this whole time running tech companies, and he came back to Virginia, and now all of a sudden he's got a Southern drawl. You got to see this video. It's ridiculous. But isn't that just like Al Gore and Hillary Clinton did? You know? Al Gore went into his black minister voice in the church, you know?
I can't anymore. This is just...
Come on, you got to laugh.
You know, while we're waiting for our guest to call, let's tackle this terrible subject.
Yeah, the police shootings.
We've had 10 police officers in the United States of America so far this year that have been killed in the line of duty. This is unacceptable. You know, this is again, it goes back to the false narrative of certain groups, and You know, it's just, it's not okay, folks. It's not okay to disobey police officers and lawful orders. It's not okay to go out and shoot police officers. It's not okay. Do you understand that? Eventually, this is going to revolutionize policing in our country for the rest of our generations. And that's going to be a bad revolutionizing of our policing. Okay, it's already happening where police officers aren't
Well,
doing
there was
anything.
a slew of shootings. So how many shootings were there in the last week?
We've had, well, there were 5 deaths in the last week.
Yeah.
There have been 10 kills since January 1st. At the same point, this time last year, we had 4 police officers killed in the line of duty. And last year, I thought that was insane. 2.5 times more. So, again, we're going to have a national dialogue on this. You know, every one of my listeners know that I'm a retired police officer, and I take this crap very seriously. And we better start at the school grade level, and let's start teaching these kids that our police officers are our friends. If you comply, okay, you will not die. I'll tell you right now, you keep your hands, you listen to whatever the police officers have to say. Okay, do not disrespect them. Do not cause a spectacle. If you're in the right and that police officer is wrong, there are
terrible.
Listen, there are many oversights. You have internal affairs. You have inspection bureaus within the police department for police officers doing something wrong. You have the news media, which loves to kill cops. But again, the fact that so many police officers are putting on this uniform to protect us, you're not going to get those brave people. You're not going to get the qualified people anymore because the job's becoming too dangerous. You know, and people don't, you know, at the end of the day, don't want to die. You want to go home to your family. You don't mind doing the job and protecting people, and that's some of us, like it's in my blood. It'll always be in my blood. It was in my father's blood. You know, all my friends that I associate with, all those police officers, you know, this is in our blood. But I'm telling you right now, with the amount of pay that these guys get and how they're destroying pensions and they're cutting back on salaries. I got Cleveland police officers going to police academy for $10.50 an hour. I got police officers in Dallas, Texas, where they cut their pensions. You know, just out of nowhere, cutting pensions, cutting salaries, taking vacation days away from guys, taking away all these incentives because, and again, we're going out and we're killing these police officers, you know, and it's just, to me, it's unacceptable. There has to be a national forum. There has to be something put in place. I mean, I know there's in Detroit, and I think we'll have George Hunter, who's a crime reporter in Detroit, on next week. You know, in Detroit, they don't pay for the funerals of police officers killed in the line of duty. They claim they have no money. Meanwhile, they've gotten $10 million in the last 5 years to put.
That's going to be a great show.
Listen, and they've gotten $10 million in the last 5 years to put computers in the police cars, and the police cars still have no computers.
100,000 vacant buildings in Detroit, maybe?
120. They knocked down 20,000 in the last year.
Wow.
Okay. This is just, I can't make this stuff up. I mean, even in Dallas, Texas, did you know in Dallas, Texas, if you're killed in the line of duty as a police officer, that spouse has to take the uniform of his uniforms and give them back.
Even after all those cops were killed last year by Black Lives Matter?
Those spouses have to give back the uniforms. Otherwise, they'll charge them for the uniforms. It's still Dallas police property. It's insane.
Kind of. It's ridiculous.
Look, again, my hearts and prayers are for these families of these police officers that have been killed so far this year and any year.
Yeah.
You know, and the most important thing, Dave, that people don't realize, the number one enemy to cops, okay, are themselves, because there's no system in place to protect them mentally.
Yeah.
Okay, and we lose on average between 130 and 160 cops a year take their lives with their own gun.
Well, it's like 22 veterans a day take their lives.
It's insane.
So,
So it's got to be a national
But
forum.
we're going to cover that more.
Absolutely.
Did you see this U.S. Olympian, Shani Davis? He lost the coin toss to see who was going to be the flag bearer for the Olympics, and he said it was racism when the white girl won the coin toss. I mean, is this stuff for real? Look at this. So he's angry about the results of the coin toss, you know, because he wanted to represent the U.S. in the opening ceremonies. He called it racist. I don't know how a coin toss can be racist. So, and then Black Lives Matters in the school system. Did you see this? They wanted to hang a BLM flag over a school in like Vermont or New Hampshire. So BLM is using Black History Month to insert its agenda Listen to some of these items they want, you know?
Would the school district allow them to fly a Blue Lives Matter flag too?
Never.
Okay.
Never, 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 never. You know? So they're trying to get this into a lot of the school systems. And I had a list of the school districts. I don't know if I still have it, but, you know, they're talking about a curriculum that includes restorative justice, empathy and loving engagement, diversity and globalism, trans-affirming, queer-affirming, and collective value, intergenerational, black family and black villages, and black women and unapologetically black. These are curriculum. Hey, we got Jessie Jane Duff on the phone here. Hi, Jess.
Well, hello. I am terribly sorry I was tardy tonight.
No, you're good. You're good. This is David Zere, and you're on Everything Matters. Here's my co-host, Ed Munoz. Say hello.
Hi, Jess. How are you?
Well, hello. I'm great. How are you tonight?
Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on the show here. We're friends of Alice Butler Short down in Virginia, and you know, she said we have to talk to you.
And Jess, this is Ed Munoz. I want to thank you for your service in the Marine Corps. I'm a retired New York City police officer, so I can appreciate when somebody puts on a service for their country.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that also. Serving, it can be done in so many ways, and with law enforcement, it's definitely a brotherhood with our fellow Marines and law enforcement, because we do believe in what we do. You know, it's something that the uniform matters, and how we wear it matters, and our honor and our integrity matters. So there's such a unification among those like Marines and definitely those who serve in NYPD.
So, Jess,
on the front lines. You guys are on the front lines. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Yes. So, Jessie, I just wanted to introduce you properly to our audience. So you're a Fox News business and political analyst, news contributor. You have a conservative talk show on the radio. That's a national show. You're involved with Concerned Citizens for America, which is a veterans group, right? Is it Concerned Veterans?
Well, no, I'm not with Concerned Vets for America anymore. I departed with them in 2014. I'm now at the London Center for Policy Research, run by Herb London, who's actually out of New York City. And I deal with a lot of national security issues with their organization.
So Herb London, in 1991, was running for governor in New York State. I was 21 years old.
Yeah.
And I got together with my friend Adam Weiss from AMW Public Relations, who you may know. In New York City, and we hosted a fundraiser for Herb London, and we actually got our Suffolk County leader to support Herb London for governor over the GOP candidate. So we love Herb London.
He's amazing. He's a wonderful, highly intelligent man who really makes everybody feel important in his presence.
He used to say New York was like Dracula, sucking the blood out of everybody.
They still are. They said there's no more blood left.
I'm sure, you know, there's nothing more frustrating than to be a conservative in New York State or New York City or California, basically. I'm a Californian, so my heart weeps for the New Yorkers also.
Listen, they've even run the moderates out. I mean, they've choked everybody out except the extreme far left. I mean, it's crazy.
Cuomo said we're not welcome if we're conservatives, so we got an uphill battle.
It's obscene. It's obscene. And how did conservatives allow it to happen? You know, we're as guilty as charged because we allowed a lot of things because we didn't like being painted the bad guy, and you know, standing up for our principles and standing up for what we know is right often was painted with a bad broad brush. So you know, we chipped away here, chipped away there, to a point where now we only are grains of salt left in some shakers.
And New York we're 3%, but you know, they say that, I lost my train of thought here, but we were talking about, you know, conservatives. Oh, yeah, so it's convenient. When a Democrat's in office, the Republicans like to rely on the conservatives to go after them and to be, you know, to polarize the issues. But when the Republicans are in office, they're ashamed of the conservatives. So it really bothers me a lot.
Well, look what's happened with our own House and Senate. We just had a budget go through that has essentially exploited spending to a level that if this was Barack Obama's budget, we would have been blasting it. But instead, we have embraced it, and the Republicans really got nothing. They really didn't. You know, nobody can tell me, well, we got defense spending. We needed defense spending. We lost $100 billion out of defense spending from 2011 to 2014 alone. Yes. You know, I'm just appalled at the amount of money The Defense Department also is not managing the way I had hoped it would. We still have transgenders coming in, despite the fact that President Trump stated they would not. And, Secretary Mattis has not stood up and supported that. That's a Defense Department policy. It was not a law. There's a reason it was in place. It has nothing to do with discrimination. It has everything to do with combat readiness. I mean, you can't even join with eczema, let alone now you're going to need testosterone shots or estrogen shots. I mean, don't even get me started with how it's going to exhaust the resources of the military. And you still have women fighting in ground combat. Women fighting in ground combat is absolutely asinine. Anybody who has served in the United States Marine Corps infantry understands and knows what it means just to get through officer candidate school. Now they've thrown out the combat readiness test because they said they would not lower the standards. Well, guess what? They removed one of these tests, a critical test, so that it should allow women to be a part of this. This is not an equal opportunity organization. The military has never been an equal opportunity organization. You're missing an arm, you're not going to join. You're too tall, you're not going to join. You're too short, you're too fat, you're too old, your eyesight isn't working, you are missing a toenail, you probably won't be allowed to join. It has never been about equal opportunity. It's had one thing that it is supposed to do, and that is to overwhelm and to destroy the enemy. Period. And now we've made it about inclusion on the battlefield. Trust me, ISIS doesn't care that women are fighting. People say, oh, they're so afraid. Do you think they'll go to heaven? No. ISIS will mutilate, destroy, and humiliate those women far more. Because of the standard of you cannot die because a woman kills you. So they're going to go aggressively after this. Nobody has ever given me any data that has demonstrated it has even maintained our combat readiness. If women are so equal, then draft them into the NFL. Put them out there where they can make up millions of dollars and get their butts wiped, or butts swiped, I should say, like they would if they were on the front line.
Turning the feminist dialogue upside down here.
I'm glad you're saying it, not me.
If we're so equal to men, then why aren't we competing with them in golf?
Well, listen.
Anybody watching the Olympics? Let's watch the Olympics. There's not a single sport where the men and the women are competing together. It's just absurd.
Well, except for the transsexuals. I think that's coming here already.
We've talked about this on our show before. And, it definitely sparks outrage on both sides. But, there are certain things that men can do that women can't. And for one, pound for pound, a man is stronger than a woman. And there are certain jobs, I mean, listen, and I'm not discrediting any woman by any stretch of the imagination.
But this is biology.
Right.
This is biology. It's not attitudes. I fully support equal attitudes as far as respect and dignity in the workplace. But when you're talking about 45% 45% muscle mass, 20% less lung capacity, everyone knows that that's going to have an impact. Even if when I hear people say, well, if she can do it, you should let her. First of all, that's a flawed argument. That's an emotional argument. The odds are that woman won't even have a career past 4 years because it's not about just getting through the training. The training is every single day. And when you don't have as much muscle mass as a male, you will break down faster. That is biology 101. You
Jessie,
look at sports injury stats. It proves it.
For all our listeners, you're listening here to Everything Matters with Ed Munoz and David Zere live at JVK Studios just outside of Manhattan. We're here with Jessie Jane Duff, who's a retired USMC gunnery sergeant, 20 years in the military, Fox News analyst and contributor, and she's very active. And now you're with the London Institute, you're saying, right?
The London Center for Policy Research, and I do want to be clear, I'm a guest on Fox. I'm not actually a paid contributor. I'm a guest.
But listen, I've been watching your videos, and I've been watching you on that channel for a while, and you're a pistol. And it's great, and it's a voice.
Don't get me fired up, right?
It's a voice that we need, and it's a voice that we need because, things just don't make sense. We had James O'Keefe on last week, and he's just like, I'm reading his book, American Pravda, and he's like, things just don't make sense. And the media is telling you one thing, and then you're looking at it, and you're like all confused. You're like, wait a minute, that's not right. And we're all being pounded to death with this narrative, and we're sick of it. And that's why Ed and I do this show. So.
The thing is, too, I also was on Fox Business on Charles Payne's show, and we had to talk about the military parade. And Leah Gabrielle, who is a former Navy fighter pilot, was against it. And I was actually shocked. I didn't go on set knowing what her position was. But Charles said, yeah, people are comparing Trump to North Korea. Why? She says, because that's what the North Koreans do. That's what their dictators do. That's what China does. That's what Russia does.
Whatever.
So essentially, she was comparing President Trump to a dictator or a communist. And I was aghast, but I just bit my tongue because I thought, I'm going to come out and give all the reasons why we should have it. And
why should we have it?
It boiled down to Leah that she said she was a trigger puller, and trigger pullers don't want to waste their time in a parade. So right there, you showed me your butt. This was about you not wanting to do a parade. Listen, Marines graduate from recruit training, we have a parade. We retire, we have a parade. We celebrate and have parades for just about everything. And no, we don't always enjoy getting out there. But you know what? We don't do the parade for those who are marching in it. We do it for the families, the community, and the
100%.
nation. And that parade, when I got my opportunity, when I got my opportunity to speak, when Charles came to me, I said, of course I support this. Less than 1% of this nation serves. The last time our nation had a parade in the nation's capital was 1991. The average age of a United States Marine is 21 years old. They weren't even alive when that happened. This is why the Vietnam vets said they were never thanked. And anybody who wants to suggest that the military would not want to march in that, I dare to say those in 1991 felt a moment of absolute pride when they were hearing those crowds applaud them and say, welcome home. So when I got on Twitter and posted it, I saw a lot of military people saying, I don't like parades, I don't want to do parades. Well, you're personalizing the argument. This isn't about you and your bunions and your little feet that get sore. This is about the nation having an opportunity to have a healthy soul with us. This is chicken soup for the soul. To celebrate the military.
Jess, you're not allowed to do that. In today's America, you're not allowed to celebrate our freedom, our Constitution, our military.
Well, we have to demand it.
Yes.
We have to demand it. We are allowed, and that's why we don't allow them to take that away from us. So my argument back to all those naysayers and all the military people that are actually acting crazy about this, like Rob O'Neill compared him to a third world dictator, if that's the case, then take the military out of the inauguration parade. Tell the Marines, Rob O'Neill, who it's claimed to have shot Osama bin Laden, he's called it a third world dictator. So I will shoot back at this one. If we're a third world, then why do we have the inauguration parade with the military in it? Let's stop that. The Marines do 2 parades a week in Washington, D.C. They're the most, they're highly attended by everybody in the country. Every single week throughout the summer, they do one over at the Iwo Jima Memorial, and they do one at Marine Barracks 8 to 9. With that, I dare to say, if parades are so bad, then why are we having them? We do it to celebrate and honor our military, and it's a great way to unify and bring the nation together to support them.
And it's so stupid. The left is sitting there saying, like there's going to be SS-25s in Moscow, long-range ICBMs in the street. It's not that kind of parade. And
Jess, I
want
to touch on something you just said, and I'd love to get your take on this because I've gotten a lot of feedback from Rob O'Neill. We've discussed him on the show before. You mentioned that they claim he killed Osama bin Laden. Do you have doubts about that?
I don't have, I'm not in a position to make any comment on that. I just don't think that would be reasonable or fair of me to make any, that's his claim, and I will just leave it at that. It's not for me to doubt him. I was not there. I don't know. I know it's been debated by other SEALs, and I think that's something that they need to sort out. I will say that a lot of people are very, very upset who are in the world of special operations that those things came out in the open because there is a code that those very classified, highly classified
especially the SEALs,
are never to be discussed.
I remember reading No Easy Day of Mark Owen was his, his alias, his pen name, right? And so, I was really surprised at the level of detail in the book, but it kind of contradicted Rob O'Neill's story too, I think. So I don't know.
It did. But with that said, regardless of who shot whom or how it happened,
it's irrelevant.
I found it offensive that anybody would compare our President of the United States to a third world dictator and be so boldly stating it. Again, I go back to what military were you in? Because the one I was in had parades consistently. And to suddenly contradict that means that you're contradicting ceremonies and traditions that we have always had as United States Marines. Like I said, from the time you graduate boot camp or officer candidate school, all the way to retirement. You are in or participating in or viewing multiple parades. The silent drill team is notorious for the parade that they give. The Marine Corps Drum and Bugle Corps is notorious for the parade they participate in. These are big events, no matter how you look at it. And if they were so bad, then why do they have standing room only crowds at their parades twice a week for over almost 4 months straight? I find it very hypocritical of people who are on active duty or people who had served saying, well, I don't like doing parades. This isn't about you doing a parade.
Jessie,
you're personalizing the argument.
We're on the same page.
I didn't like doing them. I didn't like doing them, but I understood why we did them.
There's no doubt about that, and our young people and our millennials are clueless about
American. I gotta jump in here just for 1 second.
What do you got,
I was 93rd evacuation.
This is our producer.
Yeah, Eric Koppelman. He's former Marine.
I was actually I was 93rd Evacuation Hospital Army, and then I got out of the Army. I went in the Navy. The Navy stationed me with the Marine Corps. I was out of Camp Lejeune, and then I did permanent party. I was senior corpsman in charge of the ER on Parris Island. But when I got to she's talking about parades. When I got to Great Lakes, and it was time, they told me, oh, your prior service, we'll indoctrinate. Well, you go 2 weeks, and you'll be where you have to go. They said to me, listen, we hear you have a musical background. He says, we have the Joint Chiefs of Staff coming in for one of the recruit parades. He says, would you mind doing it? I looked at him. I go, you're telling me I have to go through boot camp again? He goes, yeah. But I got to tell you, it was so proud to be able to do that with the drill teams and to watch these guys. And even I went through boot camp twice because just because it was a proud moment to be able to represent and to watch when you and the one thing, it all starts at the end of boot camp, because when you see guys that come in after 8 to 13 weeks and all of a sudden now they're marching in sync and they're doing things like a military person, and that's what it's all about. And that's why you talk about you talk about the President of the United States. We take an oath as a soldier, as a Marine, as a sailor, whatever it is, that you're going to honor the orders of the President, the President, the Commander-in-Chief. And we don't question who the man is. We don't question anything. It's a matter of the office. We take orders from him. He's sitting in the White House right now, and that's his job. This is what he does. So nobody has the right to call him a dictator. He's not a dictator. He's the President of the United States.
That's just absurd.
It's a
and when
great
I
point,
hear
Eric.
a military person,
I had to say
when I hear
that.
a military person or a veteran make those kind of remarks, I'm embarrassed because, one, they're personalizing it, or they're showing me they hate Trump more than they love their service. Because at the end of the day, President Trump, regardless of what his motives or reason were to do this, they're now the discussions now are Armistice Day, the 100-year anniversary on November 11th. Why would we not want to honor Armistice Day? That was the end of World War I.
Yeah.
This is a historical event. It's called intent versus impact. People argued, well, his intentions, was a dumb reason he wanted to do it. Well, I don't care. The impact of it is very profound for the nation. The nation benefits from this. The pride that Americans have. Leah Gabrielle on Fox Business said flat out, she says, well, I call on Americans to have a march for the military throughout the nation. Nobody wants to watch the 30-pound overweight man or woman march around for the military. We want to see the military and respect them. And I stated on Fox Business, bring in the special forces, bring in the units that did accomplish these great missions, bring in the medics and the corpsmen who saved lives, bring in the pilots, bring in those who have all but been forgotten.
Jesse, I wanted to bring up something. The Army announced that they're going to have tougher standards because a lot of the training and there's a lot of dissension that people are getting away with too much in boot camp and in training, and the Pentagon the DOD has new policies. Can you discuss that for a second?
Oh, of course, absolutely. I'm not, as you know, I'm already against women fighting in ground combat. I think that they've modified way too much already. But yeah, please go ahead and give me what your take is.
Well, I agree. I mean, I listen. I'm not a veteran. Okay, I didn't serve. I spent my teenage years in the Air Force Auxiliary, and I wound up getting married, and I was going to go in a Marine option with an ROTC program at Old Dominion. I didn't do it, but I have so much respect for the military, and I lost my best friends in 9/11. And I spent time with the veterans at Walter Reed right off the battlefield and gave transportation services home and lobbied for them in Capitol Hill. So I have nothing but pride. I went to the Soviet Union, when it was communist. I get it, why we have to. So, I don't like what I see in society. So is what's going on in society paralleling what's going on in the military? And you have a bunch of punks? Or are these people like coming out of boot camp and are they ready to go? And are the standards been relaxed? That's my question.
I will dare to say that the standards have not been relaxed. The United States Marine Corps has probably actually increased their standards quite a bit.
Okay.
There's two arguments here. One, the military doesn't benefit from lowering their standards at all. Recruiting has always been very difficult. It's very difficult to find people that can actually qualify to join the military. We have way too many people who are overweight. We have people that you've got drug problems now. You've got issues with graduating high school. It's always been difficult to recruit because it is a volunteer force. Less than 1% of this nation serves. Now, everybody always loves talking about, well, when I served, it was ABC and how tough it was when they served. But I also remember being on active duty and young sergeants saying, oh, these recruits today, they're weak. And the sergeant had only been in 3 or 4 years, him or herself. So I'm laughing like nothing has changed in those 4 years. You just matured, and you look down now on these 18, 19-year-olds. I would say that anybody who's choosing the Marine Corps or choosing the United States Army, particularly our combat operational forces, know that they're not going to have an easy life. They know that they're coming in to ensure that they're physically fit and they're in a position of readiness. I would dare to say also the same with any of our operating forces that the United States Navy and our Air Force provide. Now, I can't speak for everybody. A lot of people do join the military for the wrong reasons. Like, if you're just joining for a college opportunity, you can sense that pretty quick, but they're not going to graduate 3 months of recruit training if all they're coming in for is that college money, because there are other options out here. What they have changed and modified is this combat readiness test, and that is not part of getting into the military. That is something that is actually performed after you've graduated a lot of that initial training. And that's where the standards start making me concerned, because if you're going to change the standard or modify it so that is gender inclusive and it's not, necessarily for a man or for a woman, well, guess what? You're going to get a lower quality male in those doggone combat fighting operations also. So you can't start saying, well, we got to have more so the women can join, because guess what? Now you're going to have much lower quality males performing. Sometimes the military has to just see for themselves. It's
a really important issue. And one more thing, we only have like 2 minutes left. I just want to get your take on what's going on in Syria, because now the Turks are messing with the Kurds and U.S.-backed forces.
And now Turkey says they're at war with us.
Yeah, and we may kill 200 Russian contractors. So do you see this thing expanding over there in the Middle East?
This is the problem with what's going on. Also, there's lots of multiple problems going on whenever you start talking about the Middle East, particularly Syria, because you have an Iranian influence that's in there backing Bashar al-Assad. That's always going to be difficult. And they've committed genocide against the Sunni people. Then you've got the Turks that have essentially gone all out against the Kurds themselves. They have their own agenda for the Muslim ideology.
For the caliphate. For Erdogan for the caliphate. Yes. Sure.
Erdogan for this caliphate, because he essentially does. It was not like that, just like Iran was not like that just a couple decades ago. Now all of these Islamic hardliners are trying to dominate and have their essentially their religious mythology be the only way that the countries will practice. And you've got the Sunni-Shia rivalries. You've got all of the different types of problems within the Muslim faith themselves. But I will tell you the one thing they do agree upon, and that's destroying the Western civilization or the United States. They will all unite on that. Jihad is universal throughout all of their backgrounds to terrorism. And with Iran having such an influence in Syria, we've got to be vastly concerned. The money has not ever gotten to the people. They are the largest state sponsor of terrorism throughout the world. The blood that is on their hands, that money on pallets, should have never been given back to them. It may have been theirs in the 70s, but it's not theirs now. It belongs to the victims who have died from
we could talk about this topic for hours. We have a lot of great.
Weeks. How about that, Jess?
We have great guests on here, experts on terrorism and.
Can we have you back?
Yeah, we'd love to.
Yes, absolutely. You can have me back. And again, I'm so sorry I was tardy tonight.
No, it's not a problem. And maybe next time you're in New York, you give us a call. We'll meet out and we get to meet you.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I'm all for a free meal. Anybody will tell you that.
We're going to be at.
I'm there.
Are you going to CPAC?
I should be. I'm planning on doing a few segments, hopefully with NRA TV and maybe the Willful Majority, and roam around and talk to
Thank
a few
you so
people.
much
So
for
I
coming
look
on.
forward to it.
We're going to be there with
Thank
press
you.
passes. Hopefully, we'll run into you. Thank you so much for joining us, Jessie. It's been a pleasure.
Well, I know we're
Thank
short
you
on
for inviting
time.
me. Have a great evening, guys.
You too, Jess. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, we're a little short on time.
So, yeah, Ed, we're
I'll
going to have a
take us
great
out.
show next week. Why don't you take us out?
Absolutely. Folks, thank you very much tonight for tuning in and watching Everything Matters, where we are the voice of the common American, we are the voice of the middle class, and we are definitely the voice of our first responders and our military men and women all over the globe protecting us against evil, and there's a lot of it. Eric Koppelman, great job tonight. One
Thank
last
you.
thing before we go.
Go.
When you talked about they wanted you to be part of this band,
Yeah.
I pictured you as a one-man band with the drums,
Yeah, that's
the
it. That's
guitar,
you were there.
the harmonica.
And Facebook.
Good night, folks.
Thanks. Bye, America.